The 1980s gave us some of the most impressive excavators ever built. Machines with brilliant engineering, powerful hydraulics, and innovations that were years ahead of their time. On paper, they were perfect. Operators loved them. The industry was excited. But reality had other plans. High costs, complex systems, unreliable parts, and bad timing turned these great machines into forgotten failures. Get ready, because these are the 10 excavators from the 1980s that should have been legends, but failed instead. Number 1. Caterpillar 235B. The Caterpillar 235B was one of the most powerful excavators of the 1980s, an absolute powerhouse built for large-scale earth-moving. When it arrived, contractors were stunned by its brute force. With a massive diesel engine, a heavy-duty boom, and rugged undercarriage engineering, the 235B could handle the toughest digging jobs of the decade. It was built for quarries, mines, dam projects, and massive infrastructure development. The machine delivered jaw-dropping breakout force, fast cycle times, and impressive bucket capacity. But despite all this strength, the 235B arrived at a time when the market was changing, and changing fast. Fuel prices had skyrocketed in the late 1970s and early 1980s. Companies no longer wanted big, fuel-hungry machines unless absolutely necessary. The 235B burned diesel like a thirsty dragon. For smaller contractors, operating such a machine was simply too expensive. Another issue was timing. Japan had entered the global excavator market aggressively. Brands like Komatsu and Hitachi introduced mid-size excavators that were more fuel-efficient, more affordable, and easier to transport. Contractors started prioritizing efficiency over raw strength, and suddenly the 235B started feeling too big for daily work. Maintenance was another challenge. While durable, the 235B required heavy lifting equipment, specialized mechanics, and costly parts. This scared smaller companies away. In the end, the CAT 235B didn't fail because it lacked performance. It failed because the world no longer needed giants. It was a machine built for the 1970s, introduced in the 1980s, and overtaken by a new era of lighter, smarter excavators. Number 2. Komatsu PC300-3. When the Komatsu PC300-3 arrived, it had everything needed to dominate its category. Strong digging force, smooth hydraulics, excellent cooling, and a surprisingly fuel-efficient engine made it one of Komatsu's best-engineered excavators of its early generation. The -3 series fixed many issues of earlier models and delivered faster cycle times and better durability. Operators praised the PC300-3 for its balanced structure. It felt powerful yet smooth, fast yet stable. Its long boom design allowed deeper digging without loss of hydraulic power, and the heavy-duty frame allowed it to work confidently on large construction and mining projects. Yet the machine failed, not because of engineering, but because of market confusion. The PC300-3 was stuck between categories. It was too big for small and medium-sized contractors, not big enough for large-scale mining or mega-infrastructure projects. Contractors preferred smaller models like the PC200 or PC2020 because they were cheaper and more universal. Meanwhile, large companies chose the PC400 or even larger mining excavators. The PC300-3 sat awkwardly in the middle, attracting only a narrow group of buyers. Another issue was Komatsu's global dealer support, which was still expanding. Getting parts for the PC300-3 was difficult in many regions. Contractors didn't want to risk buying a machine that might sit idle waiting for parts. Even though the PC300-3 was technically brilliant, it failed commercially because it simply didn't fit the demand curve of the 1980s. It was a great machine, but launched in the wrong size category at the wrong time. Number 3. Liebherr R932 Litronic. The Liebherr R932 Litronic was a technological marvel from the 1980s. Liebherr introduced the Litronic electronic control system long before electronics became mainstream in excavators. It allowed precise hydraulic tuning, better power delivery, and smoother motion control. At a time when most excavators were purely mechanical, The R932 felt like a machine from the future. Operators who understood the machine were amazed. The R932 delivered exceptional precision, something unheard of in that era. Swing motions were smoother, digging cycles were faster, and the machine wasted far less hydraulic energy. On paper and in performance, the R932 was far ahead of anything its competitors were producing. But this advancement became its downfall. In the 1980s, most operators and mechanics feared electronics. They were comfortable with pure mechanical and hydraulic systems, but didn't trust sensors and electronic modules. When something went wrong, mechanics had no idea how to diagnose it. Contractors worried repairs would be too expensive or too slow. Even though the R932 rarely failed, fear of the unknown kept customers away. It also didn't help that Liebherr priced the machine higher than Japanese competitors, and Japanese brands were rapidly gaining global trust. In the end, the R932 didn't fail due to weakness. It failed because the world wasn't ready for it. A brilliant machine, but far ahead of its time. Number 4. Hitachi UH083. The Hitachi UH083 was one of the most capable and reliable excavators Hitachi ever produced in the early 1980s. It offered exceptional digging power, a robust undercarriage, and hydraulics that were smoother than many Western machines. It was a stable, trusted machine with lower fuel consumption than many competitors. The UH083 should have succeeded, but it failed for one surprising reason. Hitachi replaced it too quickly. Right after the UH083, Hitachi launched the revolutionary EX series, models like EX100, EX120, EX200, and EX300. These machines were global hits, rapidly becoming some of the most popular excavators in the world. They were faster, modern-looking, and heavily marketed. Dealers had no reason to push the UH083 when the EX models were selling like hotcakes. As a result, buyers ignored the UH083. Dealers ignored the UH083-83. The EX series overshadowed it completely. It wasn't that the UH083 was worse, it just came at the wrong time. It never got a marketing push. It never got global attention. It was a great machine released too close to a legendary successor. Because of this, the UH083 was essentially forgotten, even though it was one of the best-built excavators of its era. A victim of timing, not performance. Number 5. JCB 808. The JCB 808 was one of those rare excavators from the 1980s that had everything it needed to become a worldwide success. It was smooth, powerful, fuel-efficient, and surprisingly advanced for its time. Many operators who had the chance to run the 808 often said that it felt like a machine from the next decade. Its hydraulic system was exceptionally refined, offering precise boom control and instant response to joystick movements. This gave the operator a sense of confidence and precision that only a handful of machines in the 1980s could offer. Along with its excellent hydraulic tuning, the JCB 808 also impressed users with its digging performance, stable undercarriage, and intelligent weight distribution, allowing it to work efficiently in trenching, building foundations, loading trucks, and general construction tasks. For a machine built in the 80s, it also had a surprisingly comfortable cabin with good visibility and ergonomic control placement, making long working hours far less tiring. Mechanics appreciated its easy-to-access engine bay and simple maintenance layout, which meant downtime was low and repairs were straightforward. Yet despite all these strengths, the JCB 88 failed for reasons unrelated to its engineering. The biggest problem was JCB's weak international dealer network during that era. Outside Europe, contractors did not trust JCB excavators because parts support was slow, dealerships were limited, and service centers were sparse. While brands like Hitachi, Komatsu, and Caterpillar dominated global markets with reliable after-sales support, JCB simply could not match their network strength. This made contractors hesitate even if they liked the machine. Another issue was timing. Models like the Hitachi EX200 and the Komatsu PC300 were already becoming global icons, and the JCB 88 struggled to compete with their established reputations. A lack of aggressive marketing outside Europe further pushed the 88 into obscurity. In the end, the JCB 88 was a truly impressive excavator that failed not because of its abilities, but because the world never got enough chances to witness what it was capable of. Number 6. Case 1085 Super E. The Case 1085 Super E was one of the most interesting excavators of the 1980s because it brought a level of mobility that no tracked excavator could match. It was a wheeled or rubber-tired excavator designed to move quickly between job sites without needing a trailer. At a time when transporting heavy equipment required scheduling trucks, permissions, and manpower, the Case 1085 seemed like a dream come true. Contractors who tested it were amazed by its versatility. It could drive on roads at decent speeds, set up quickly on a work site, perform precise digging with smooth hydraulic controls, and move again without the hassle of loading onto a transport truck. The cab was comfortable for its era, with improved visibility and a more operator-friendly layout. The hydraulic system delivered strong digging force, and the machine handled surprisingly well for something sitting on wheels instead of tracks. In Europe, such excavators were normal, but in North America, the concept was new and unfamiliar. And this unfamiliarity became its downfall. The North American construction industry of the 1980s favored tracked excavators because they offered better stability, greater digging power, and stronger traction on rough ground. Contractors simply weren't ready to adopt wheeled excavators even if they offered mobility advantages. Many dismissed them as city machines or utility-only machines, failing to see their potential in general construction. Another major issue was the perception of durability. Some operators doubted whether a wheeled excavator could withstand long-term heavy use, especially in rocky or uneven terrain. Even though the Case 1085 was well-built and capable, these doubts made buyers hesitant. Additionally, Case didn't market the 1085 aggressively enough in regions where wheeled excavators would have flourished, such as Europe or urban-focused markets. As a result, the machine never reached the audience that would have appreciated it most. Despite being innovative, fuel-efficient, and extremely practical, the Case 1085 failed because it was a great idea introduced in a market that simply wasn't ready to embrace change. Number 7. Volvo BM 6300. The Volvo BM 6300 was one of the boldest and strangest excavators ever built in the 1980s. Instead of following the traditional design of either a standard crawler excavator or a wheeled excavator, Volvo BM attempted something completely different, a hybrid machine that combined characteristics of both a loader and an excavator. It had a powerful loader-style front with excellent lifting capability and a rear excavator boom capable of serious digging work, making it a multi-purpose construction machine unlike anything else on the market. On job sites, operators were shocked by how versatile it was. The 6300 could load trucks, excavate trenches, lift materials, and travel between jobs faster than tracked machines. Its hydraulic system delivered impressive breakout force, and its stability was far better than what most people expected from such an unconventional design. It handled uneven surfaces with confidence, and the operator cabin was advanced for its time, comfortable, spacious, and designed with superior visibility. In many ways, the Volvo BM 6300 was ahead of the multifunction machine trend that would become popular decades later. But the very innovation that made it impressive also caused its downfall. Contractors simply didn't know where this machine fit. Was it supposed to replace an excavator, a loader, a backhoe, or all three? That confusion meant that very few companies were willing to invest in a machine that didn't have a clear purpose or established market category. Additionally, Volvo BM lacked the global dealership strength it enjoys today. Outside Scandinavia and parts of Europe, finding parts and service support was extremely difficult, so even operators who appreciated the machine's concept were reluctant to buy it because they feared downtime. The construction industry of the 1980s was also conservative. Customers preferred machines with a clearly defined role, not experimental hybrids. As a result, the 6300 failed commercially even though it could do things no other machine of its time could. Today, it is remembered as a brilliant yet misunderstood excavator that was simply too unique for the decade it was born in. Number 8. Poclain 81CK. The Poclain 81CK was one of the most technically impressive excavators of the 1980s, built by a company that had once dominated the global hydraulic excavator market. Poclain was known for its powerful hydraulic pumps, smooth controls, and durable yet lightweight structures, and the 81CK represented the peak of their engineering expertise. Operators who used this machine were consistently amazed by how effortlessly it cut through soil, clay, and even hard-packed material. The hydraulics were incredibly responsive, allowing for fast cycle times and precise bucket control, qualities that even some Japanese excavators struggled to match at the time. The machine's stability was also admired, with a well-balanced undercarriage that allowed confident digging even at full reach. Poclain's signature innovation, a highly efficient hydraulic pump with impressive flow control, gave the 81CK a digging speed that was ahead of its era. It was the kind of excavator that performed like a much larger machine while maintaining fuel efficiency that contractors found surprisingly economical. Yet the 81CK failed, not because of engineering flaws, but because of the dramatic shift happening in the global excavator market. By the 1980s, Japanese manufacturers like Komatsu and Hitachi were rapidly expanding worldwide, offering excavators that were cheaper to maintain, easier to repair, and supported by extensive dealer networks. Caterpillar was simultaneously strengthening its presence, leaving Poclain squeezed from both sides. The company simply could not keep up with the aggressive global strategies of its competitors. While Poclain continued to build excellent machines, they lacked the marketing reach, distribution power, and parts availability that contractors increasingly relied on. The 81CK became a victim of this industry evolution. Even though it was capable of outperforming many of its rivals, buyers feared downtime and slow parts supply, so they chose safer, more globally supported brands. Eventually, Poclain was acquired by Case, and the 81CK faded into obscurity. Today, it stands as a forgotten masterpiece, an excavator that was brilliant in performance but defeated by a changing world and a market that no longer favored the company that built it. Number 9. Åkerman H14. The Åkerman H14 was one of the toughest excavators to emerge from the 1980s. Built in Sweden for some of the harshest operating conditions on Earth, Åkerman machines were famous for their durability, and the H14 carried that legacy forward with pride. It was engineered like a tank. Thick steel plates, oversized pins and bushings, heavy-duty track frames, and a hydraulic system designed to operate flawlessly even in freezing Nordic winters. The H14 delivered enormous breakout force, making it a favorite for rock work, forestry applications, trenching in frozen ground, and large-scale construction projects. Operators admired its raw power and dependable hydraulic flow, which remained consistent even under heavy continuous load. The machine's robust swing motor, powerful engine, and long-life pump contributed to a reputation for reliability that few excavators of the era could match. In fact, many H14 units from the 1980s are still operating today, a testament to Åkerman's incredible engineering. But the same qualities that made the H14 a regional powerhouse also caused its commercial downfall. The excavator was simply too big, too specialized, and too rugged for the broader global market. While Nordic contractors loved machines that could survive harsh cold, most customers in other parts of the world preferred lighter, more fuel-efficient equipment that was easier to transport and cheaper to maintain. The H14 was overbuilt for typical civil construction tasks, making it an expensive choice compared to mid-size excavators from Hitachi, Komatsu, and Caterpillar. Another major issue was distribution. Åkerman's dealer network outside Scandinavia was extremely limited, meaning parts availability and service support were major concerns for international buyers. Contractors did not want to risk purchasing a machine that might sit idle for weeks waiting for critical components. As global brands rapidly expanded in the 1980s, Åkerman struggled to keep pace. Despite being an exceptional machine with legendary toughness, the H14 ultimately failed in the global marketplace, not because of performance, but because it was a niche product in an industry that was becoming increasingly globalized and efficiency-focused. It remains a beloved icon among Scandinavian operators, yet a forgotten giant everywhere else. Number 10. Daewoo Solar 220. The Daewoo Solar 2020 was one of the most underestimated excavators of the late 1980s. It offered a combination of fuel efficiency, strong digging power, and surprisingly smooth hydraulic performance, qualities that many contractors did not expect from Daewoo at that time. The machine was powered by a reliable engine that delivered consistent torque at low RPMs, making it efficient both in digging and in long-duration earth-moving tasks. Its hydraulic system was well-balanced, giving operators precise control during trenching, loading, grading, and general construction work. Many operators who actually used the Solar 2020 were shocked to discover that it performed on par with, and sometimes even better than, certain models from more established brands. It had a solid undercarriage, stable frame, and components designed to withstand regular heavy use. Maintenance was straightforward, with good engine access and a layout that allowed mechanics to carry out daily servicing with minimal hassle. On paper and in real-world use, the Solar 2020 was a genuinely good excavator. Yet despite its strengths, the Solar 2020 failed, not because of engineering flaws, but because contractors didn't trust the Daewoo brand. In the 1980s, the excavator market was dominated by giants like Caterpillar, Komatsu, Hitachi, and even Liebherr. These companies had strong global reputations and massive dealer networks. Daewoo, on the other hand, was still new to the heavy equipment game. Many buyers were hesitant to invest in a machine from a brand they considered unproven. They feared issues with parts availability, service quality, and long-term durability. This fear was amplified by Daewoo's limited global dealer presence at the time, meaning that even if someone wanted to take a chance on the Solar 2020, they risked delays in part supply and a lack of technician support. As a result, contractors stuck with the brands they already knew, leaving the Solar 20 ignored despite its capabilities. Over time, the machine disappeared from the mainstream conversation, overshadowed by the meteoric rise of Japanese manufacturers and the dominance of established Western brands. The Daewoo Solar 20 remains one of the clearest examples of a great excavator that failed simply because the world wasn't ready to trust where it came from. These excavators weren't bad idea. They were victims of the decade they were born in. Their innovations inspired future machines, even if they never reached the success they deserved. If you enjoyed uncovering these forgotten giants, hit like, subscribe, and tell me which excavator you think deserved a second chance. Thanks for watching, because the next video dives into even more brilliant machines that came close but didn't make it.